Going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is going to be a week in review of my marathon training where I attempt to go sub 3 hours for the very first time. I've slowly cut my marathon time down from a 4:05 to a 3:29 to a 3:16 to a 3:10, and now in just under a week we're gonna go for a sub 3 hour marathon. If you guys have been following along, you know I've been breaking down my weeks in training to share with you everything that I'm doing as an amateur runner, trying to get faster, trying to be better, to give you some insight into what it looks like to do something like go sub 3 hours in the marathon. This video is going to be a little bit longer, so stay all the way through. I'm going to show you some cool data that I've gotten through all of my training through my watch to really break this down for you guys. But last week was another deload week. Honestly, it's been feeling really nice to have the mileage come down. I think like from my peak week, I did 110 kilometers, then I did 91, and then this last week I did 70, which is like quite a bit of a drop down. Not gonna lie, it's been feeling nice on my joints, my feet, my tendons, which is really great. So kicked it off with 11K easy run. Nothing too special with this one. Trying to keep it relatively slow. My coach just wants me to go a little bit even slower than this, but I found it hard. I've just gotten in a rhythm of this being like my easy pace. The one big workout for the week was a 10K effort. So along the marathon prep in this series, I've had key workouts that we use as benchmarks to see where you're at in terms of fitness and is the goal realistic. This was another one of those benchmark workouts toward the end of the block, which was just a fast 10K. Essentially, I had a 3K warm up, 10K at 355 to 350 pace, and then a 3K cool down. So if I hit this the way that it was prescribed, it would give me a PR in the 10K. And that's what happened. So I ended up doing, let's see, just make sure we got it here. What is it? 30, I think I did like a 39:20 in the 10K portion of this workout, which is great. That's what we were looking for. We wanted to go sub 40. So I think I averaged in that 10K period of time. I wish I could pull it up here. I think in that 10K period of time, I averaged like a 355, I think. So really happy with that. Felt, yeah, here's 390, 39:20 was the 10K PR, which is amazing. I think my legs felt good. Like I felt juiced up, a little bit sore from just like the load of the run, but felt really juiced up. So this was great. This is going to be the last really hard intensity. Then we did the movement run club that evening, nice, easy 5, almost 6K of running. Again, the movement run club has been really fun. It's been slowly growing, slowly consistent. If you're in the Dundas area, you want to run nice, easy paces on a Tuesday evening, come hang with us at the Movement HQ. Wednesday, 11K. The weather has been phenomenal, cool, crisp, exactly what I'm hoping for race day. Friday, same thing. These weeks are kind of boring. I mean, most of this training, and if you've seen it, is like easy miles with 2 intense days sometimes sprinkled in. So another 11-ish K or just over 10K, sorry, on Friday. And then I guess we could call this my last long run, 16K. Beautiful morning, getting prepped for some Thanksgiving dinner. Wore the race shoes. You can see here I'm going to be racing the Metaspeed Sky Paris, which I'm super stoked for. That shoe is very, very light. And if you just recently watched the Chicago Marathon this past week, a lot of the elite runners were wearing that shoe. So I'm going to channel that elite energy heading into the marathon. So that's the breakdown of the week. I think, like I said, I hit 70K total on that week. So as you can see this little graph here, this kind of would have been my peak week. Then this would have been 90K. This would have been the past week. And then this week is race week. So volume's going to drop a little bit more. The frequency of the running is going to stay the same, but the volume obviously is going to drop, with the majority of the volume coming from the marathon. But what I want to show you today is a peek inside of some of the data over the course of this marathon prep. So what I love about Coros is it gives you this little training hub, which breaks down your metrics. So I used to not be a big data guy, but now that I've been more consistent with my running, it's been really cool to use this data to guide decision making for training, just to see where things are at. Is the goals that I'm setting realistic for where my fitness is at? Because I think that's a big thing is, you set these big goals, but then not being honest with yourself. And there's a big difference. Like I'm all about, subjectively feeling good and like mentally pushing yourself. And you can get a lot more out of yourself from a mindset than physical. But if the physical and the mindset are very far off from each other, then it's not going to fly, no matter how much you will it into existence. So the cool part about this is it spits out a bunch of data. It gives me like your running fitness. It tells me what my training status is, which, again, take this stuff with a grain of salt, but it is good to like get a picture, right? It says I'm ready for a performance, which is great. It means that like I'm trending in the right direction with my intensity of workouts. It breaks down my recovery. What I really want to dive into, because this is like a bit more realistic data that I'm going to use, is it shows me my threshold heart rate zones and my threshold paces. And what I really like about this, if you look here at the heart rate, is like it breaks down what my heart rate is going to be in each zone. And why this is key is on the race for a marathon, I'm not typically really worried about heart rate, but I am using it as a measure. If I start to see early on in the race that I am in a 177 to 183 heart rate, that is not a good place to be, right? So generally in the marathon, ideally you're probably going to be somewhere for me, 160 to 165 average is probably where I'm looking. So that's between zone 3 and zone 4. A lot of the marathon, we talk about zone 2 training. A lot of the marathon and most of your marathon is spent in zone 3, which is for me 157 to 164. So I will use this as a gauge of where I am based off intensity. So, if I'm running at marathon pace and my heart rate is already at 183, that's not a good sign. That means I'm probably not going to be able to sustain that. That's not going to be the case, but that is like how you can use this info. So I know like when I get towards the end of the race, if I do have, let's say the last 10K, if I do have the ability to really push myself and speed up, I'm going to probably be okay being in the 175, heart rate zone. Cause like I can handle that for, 10K, but I can't handle that for 42K. So that's cool. The other correlation with this is just like estimated pace range. So, again, I don't want to be running in my threshold pace for a marathon. It just doesn't work. You're not going to be able to sustain that. The threshold is probably something you could sustain for 45 minutes to an hour, which this makes sense based off of my recent 10K. It says my threshold pace is anywhere between 355 and 416. So the low end of my threshold being 416. And then the high end being 355. So if I'm running this marathon, I'm not going to come out and be running this marathon at 355 pace. That's not sustainable and it won't result in the outcome that I'm looking for. But what is cool is like most of the marathon is going to be spent in this aerobic power zone, which correlates with that zone 3 heart rate over here. And for me, it says anywhere between 417 and 437. So this is really good. Like this is right around where we would want it to be to run a sub 3 hour marathon. So if I want to, hit a sub 3, I want to average 415 across the 42.2. So the fact that I'm like right there with a 417, I'm really happy with that. It means it's something that I can sustain across that race, and not be in like zone 4, zone 5. So again, this is a cool way that this data can be used, and this data is just tracked over the course of my time training. So it takes into consideration, let's say for sure the last 12 to 16 weeks of marathon prep, and I've really watched these paces change over the course of that time frame. The other thing that, again, you can kind of use as a bit of a gauge is the race predictor. Coros has been kind of accurate for my race predictions in the past. Again, you got to take these with a grain of salt, but I am happy to see that I'm in that range. Like it is predicting that I could run a 303 marathon, which is a 420 per kilometer average. So, I think with my goal to go under sub 3, I think that's reasonable. So I'm super happy to see that. If that was a 3:29 predicted marathon pace, then I might be a little bit concerned. But again, I would take these predictors with a grain of salt. It is part of the picture that you can work into your decision making factors based off of how you're feeling and what your training block looked like. And I'm really happy with how this training block went and some of the key workouts that I hit that are giving me confidence to know that going sub 3 hours is definitely doable from a fitness standpoint. Just got to put together a race, which is always a challenge, right? Race day is a whole nother thing. I want to pop over to this, they call it the Evo Lab metrics. This really breaks down things even more. I won't go into too much, but I do want to show you this graph, which I think is really cool. This shows my training status over the course of the last 12 weeks, which is like pretty much when marathon preps started to get really real. So you can kind of like filter these different things. So the ones that I want to look at is like load impact, which is just like the amount of load that I'm putting on my body. They use this to like calculate a score. And then this green is like my base fitness, right? And then you can actually even add in like the intensity trend, which just shows like the intensity of my training. But I'm going to keep that off for now. What I really, really like to see with this is like when we look back, let's see, what is this set to? Like we look back 12 weeks, which is 3 months. You can see here that my base fitness was 112. And 3 months ago, what would that put us at? We're in October, what is that, September, August, July, so right around maybe end of July here, my base fitness was 112, and you can see this trend going up across the course of the marathon prep, which is super awesome to see. This is probably right around where I got sick and missed a couple days with my back pain and some sickness, and then we've seen that trend up, and we can see that I'm kind of coming down right now just because I'm tapering, but you can see like my peak base fitness is like 161. It also peaked over here at 167, which this would have been probably my peak week. You can see here the load impact is the highest and the base fitness is the highest, and now we're starting to see that come down a little bit, but obviously not too much as we're tapering. And so that's kind of what you want to see. You can also see the load impact drastically coming down here. Like we're down, this would have been last week, a lot. Down a lot compared to where it was at peak week, which is exactly what we want to see. Also throw in the intensity trend and we'll see that as well. You can see my intensity being higher, then dropping down. This is probably right when I got sick, and then it was slowly building up, and then we're peaking at peak week with a peak in fitness, and then now the intensity is coming down, right? So as we're tapering, we want to bring those things down so that we can really peak again here in a week's time. So it's kind of cool to see this, and I want to expand it out a little bit more, even like if we look at let's say the last 24 weeks. So this is probably throw in where my other marathon was, close to it anyway. Like my base fitness has just like grown significantly. It would really be cool if I could do like the last year on this, because like you can really see my base fitness across the last 24 weeks. Like, look at how much that's built up. And that is like just a testament to the consistency of being able to stack training blocks together. And I love seeing this graph because a lot of times people will ask me like, oh, how do you do this? How have you made so much progress? It's like a lot of times people are only seeing a small snapshot of what you're doing. When I bring this graph up, like this improvement over 24 weeks is crazy, right? And that's what happens when you can be consistent. You follow a program, you're able to build progressively, ideally to hit a goal like a sub 3 hour marathon. So I'm really, really excited about the way that this graph looks, and I hope I can continue to build on this. Like I have big goals in the running space. Like the number one focus right now is to chip off a sub 3, which we're gonna do here in just under a week, and then after that, the goal is to qualify for the Boston Marathon, which is at this point with the way that cutoffs are moving, it's looking like I'm going to need to do like a 250 at least. So there's a lot of progress that still needs to be made. So I would love to see this graph continue to grow. I think that's all I really wanted to dive through on this one. Like this Coros shows like some cool stuff. Like it'll show like my total distances in the run, like how much kilometers I've done in the last 4 weeks. You can expand this out to 12 weeks so we can look at the block and see how many total kilometers I did, how much total time I spent training. It shows like your VO2 max across the course of time, shows like your training zones, like what zones you've been spending more time in. You can see that like my threshold pace has gone up here. You can see that like my threshold heart rate has gone up here with the training that I've done. So it's really cool to see this data, but I just wanted to show you guys a little insight into what that looks like and how you can see this change over the course of a marathon prep. And I'm super pumped with like what I've been able to accomplish, and hopefully we can go and do this thing here this Sunday at the Toronto Waterfront Marathon. The classic saying is like the hay is in the barn. I would agree. That is kind of where we are at right now. All the training has been done since that peak week, and now it's more about just getting ready both physically and mentally for race day. And race day is a whole nother beast. You can be the most fit, you can have the perfect block, and you can get hit with many variables that you can't control, and you got to go out and just do your thing. And I really love that. I like that. I like the idea of going and executing and performing on the day and seeing what shows up and what you got to deal with. I do think like I've built myself up to really manage and tolerate those things well. So I love having the opportunity to go after the goal that I've set. It's never guaranteed, even though all the fitness is there. And it's never guaranteed when you get to the start line. I think this is my last little thing before I wrap up, is a lot of people get to a point where they think that just because they got to the start line of the marathon, that the marathon is going to give them the completion. It is not the case. The marathon is unrelenting. It's unforgiving. So just because you get to the start line, that's a big accomplishment, but you have to really focus in the marathon. You have to earn the right to finish it. Just because you earn the right to get there does not mean you earn the right to finish it. And you need to stay focused on your race plan, your nutrition, your mindset, the way that you're talking to yourself, the things you're focusing on. All of that needs to be very much dialed in on the race. So if you guys are heading into the race this weekend, think about that. If you guys are thinking about racing in the future, you got races coming up, think about that. But I'm super stoked to send it. I'm super pumped about the breakdown of like this whole series. I think I hit basically since the start of this, I hit every week except for one where I did a vlog showing the whole week. So I'm super excited about being able to share that with you guys. Go back, look at this stuff as I continue to progress my fitness across time. But that is all I got for today, guys. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. If you guys aren't following me on Strava, head over there, follow me, post all my training there. You can follow me on Instagram. Stay tuned to race week. I'm going to try and put out a little video here about like my race plan, how taper's gone, nutrition focus, all that stuff. And then definitely we'll have a race recap video on the YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of that. And I hope you guys are pushing it. I hope you guys are getting after it. I hope you guys are digging deep. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.